should have this for tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. It's showtime, so let's see, we'll call the meeting to order, and it's about 10:03. And this will not be a marathon meeting, but everybody's open for conversation. But they're only the people that are on the committee officially can vote. Should I sit there? No, they can sit there. That's fine. Anyway, all rise for, what do we say, the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. We have a tropical heat wave, so let's see when we get started. Minutes of January 8th. Has anyone had a chance to look them over?
Did.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
Yeah, motion for approval. Second. Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, minutes are approved. All those without exception, so we can vote if you want.
That's fine.
You don't have to according to
Okay.
Robert's Rule of Order. But some people prefer to have it that way, and I have no objection either way. Introductions, if we can start. I'm George Topple, Union Township Trustee in Porter County, Indiana.
I'm Annie Cruz Porter. I'm a Community and Regional Development Specialist at the Purdue Center for Regional Development.
I'm Dennery King, Economic Development District Coordinator for NERC. Flora Baum, NERC staff.
Hello, my name is Sahi Wanshi. I'm Engagement Specialist for Purdue Center for Regional Development.
I'm Jen Trowbridge. I'm the CEO of a social service organization called CoAction.
I'm Marie Foster Bruce, Vice President for Advancement at Valparaiso University.
Sean Salop, External Relations at Valparaiso University.
Joe Gonzalez, Chief Operating Officer at Northwest Indiana Realtors. Gary Johnson, Board Chair of the Society of Innovators at Purdue Northwest.
John Milton, Lowell Town Council.
John McPherson, the Fort County Surveyor. Just visiting.
Candace Eklund, NERC.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Now let's get started. The action we're requesting is approval for the CED goals. So we'll start with the discussion. Annie Cruz Porter, please take it away.
Okay, thank you. I just don't forget my water. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the goals that I've come up with based on all of our meetings. And I want to have a discussion about them and see how they resonate with everyone. Okay.
Spencer Summers has arrived.
Late again, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
So good morning, everyone. We're going to kind of talk about the SEDS goals and some of the guiding principles that I came up with. And this is essentially to make sure that the SEDS is ratified by the EDA and follows the EDD guidelines and SEDS guidelines. So it also based on the feedback we received from our public engagement and also from the working group meetings that we've been attending. So, okay, so these are some of the principles that we're basing the SEDS on, and so I want to see how these set with you. So we're going to be working on trying to bring together partnerships and regional alignment. So what I mean by regional alignment is that, you know, your housing study, your the forum, and workforce organizations are all kind of aligned behind this and understand the reasoning for this kind of economic development plan. And then we're going to focus also on distributed growth and try, it's a way to kind of address all of the disparities in the region and understand that they are there and try to have, I guess, a cohesive regional economy and come at it from that direction. And also, given all of the, I guess, the instability and unknowns around US Steel, and also just going forward with emerging clusters and growing clusters, we're looking at economic stabilization and future growth. So how can the region grow? How can it also avoid and withstand and recover from any economic shocks that may occur if US Steel closes, or if it is in any way, just so you can mitigate against that?
You want comments as you go along, or what would you like to do?
So for this, yes. So if you have, so we can start here.
Okay. So one word that I think is important that doesn't appear anywhere in there
Yes.
is sustainability.
Okay.
And also, just as a point of information, the issue of steel goes way beyond U.S. Steel.
Yes, it does.
Well, you keep mentioning closing, you mentioned it twice, closing of U.S. Steel as being the issue. It's the steel industry in Northwest Indiana, which would encompass, obviously, Cleveland Cliffs and U.S. Steel.
So yes.
It's the entire industry.
Yes. So there's a lot of unknowns and potential shocks that
Yeah, I know, but it's the entire
Yes.
industry. It's not
Yeah.
just U.S. Steel.
Okay. So when you say sustainability, are you thinking of economic sustainability or environmental?
Both, I think. I think
Okay.
I think it's kind of hard to separate those two.
Okay. Any other? Yes.
Just from a semantic standpoint, the bottom one, we say economic stabilization, that suggests that something has happened that we have to stabilize from. The text below it points to resiliency more, so maybe we would want to point to resiliency. Also from an optics standpoint, putting something out that says we need to stabilize our economy, it can be seen as a negative
Okay.
word.
Yeah. Okay. We're taking notes on that. So yeah. Okay, that's good. Anything else? Okay. So these are the overall goals that I've come up with for 3 buckets. They're economic diversification, which will encompass the industry clusters that were identified in the last meeting. So we have the machinery, primary metal, ceramic, glass, and chemicals are merged together, and then quantum. And then workforce and talent, that section will look at ways to strengthen the workforce and labor resiliency within the region. And also quality of place to address factors contributing to regional livability and workforce attractiveness. These are very broad, purposely, yes.
So I'm looking at the first one, says support a diverse economy with emphasis on good jobs. Good is kind of like a nebulous.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we use a, I don't know, I'm not sure what a better word than good would be. But would this be a place to put like,
A marker.
yeah,
Whether it's
something
above.
related to clean, like the clean type of jobs, instead of necessarily focusing on, because I've worked in the mills, I know how dirty that can be. But now that we have all of these data centers coming on board, the clean energy jobs, or something that says a little bit more definition of what good actually means.
Well, is it an emphasis on the roles or on the wages of those jobs? Because I think if, as a region, we can target additional investment that supports or has an emphasis on wages that are higher than the state average, so that as we're looking at additional investment, we can drive those higher than state average jobs? Or is it more of a,
I think,
does that make sense?
yes. So bear with me, because good jobs was what the
So it
Biden
encompassed both of our,
administration
yeah.
called, high quality jobs. So we're in a transition, and knowing the best verbiage to play to the EDA and the new administration is also tricky. But I do take your your point. So it's, you know, whether, I mean,
Is the recommendation to change the word to high quality jobs or?
we could say high quality, we can say, you know, I mean, with an emphasis on, I mean, these are just overall kind of benchmarks. What comes out of those, I can kind of delineate what I'm thinking as well.
Recommendation for change in wording?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think I'm going back to some of the EDA references.
Yeah.
and I think at the top of their list of what constitutes a good job was actually the meaning of good paying job.
It is, yeah, it's about
So
what it is.
maybe for now, as a placeholder, we just add the word good paying job.
Yeah, we can do that.
And-
Clean, I like clean and, you know, the green economy and workforce. I'm reticent to put that out there right now politically. I don't
An amazing
know.
statement, really.
What?
That's an amazing statement.
I know,
that
I
we
know.
have to be worried about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
guess,
don't
because
wanna,
I think from a long-term perspective, we have to do better than what we've done.
yeah,
And, you know, when we add the word paying in there, that gives a sense of, that's more the focus than anything else of what someone's definition of good might mean. So kind of drives the truck a little bit closer to where we're trying to go. So
Yeah.
I would agree. I think adding the word paying in there would be helping to define it a
we
little
can
bit better.
definitely.
Especially considering it's under the heading economic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And possibly, could you include a statistical term, paying higher than the current mean?
I can do that further in the further
Okay.
policies, but
Here, no.
here, yeah, maybe not.
Right.
Yeah, I will be writing a paragraph on each and I can delineate that there.
You know, just looking at those three,
Yeah,
struggling a little bit as to how they are customized for our region as opposed to very general statements that would apply almost anywhere.
well, here, exactly. So they're customized to your region based on what we receive from public engagement. And they are very, very broad so that they can fit the region in a broad sense. And that when you apply for funding, you can say, well, it fits economic diversification, even though that project may not be delineated or spelled out exactly within the document.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of my own strategic planning experience in companies that I've run. And one of the tests that I always ask is at the end of it, it should apply, we should be the only company in the world to which this applies, that it needs to be that unique and
well,
customized.
the policies are will be very unique,
Okay.
and I have those.
I got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Under workforce and talent, do we want to at least give a nod to the encouragement of entrepreneurship somehow under that category?
Yes. Yes, I do have more slides.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was a little hung up on strengthen because I was thinking that, well, it could mean that we want to expand or it could mean that we want to improve the quality of it. And
so do you want we can keep the question mark over that word?
I'm not sure what you had in mind. Maybe it's both.
Yes.
Yeah.
The strength kind of covers, it's kind of a generic term, and these are bullet points, I think, at this point.
Okay.
Lois, did you have?
Well, anyone here is welcome to
So
make
you was
comments.
really looking at the good jobs principle, that's what you saying when you was.
I'm sorry, the
You
what?
was looking at the good jobs principle.
Yes.
When you was doing it, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you ask somebody, say, you know, like if I will say I have a good job, and when I say a good job, it means it's a good pay, good environment, good. Do you know, like it means multiple things.
Yes,
So,
it does.
Yeah.
Yes,
so-
it does.
so
Stable.
that's- Yeah, stable. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll define that more. But I
Yeah,
am thinking
we should
wages.
put that on there that you
Wages.
represent the
It's a-
good jobs principle, and that would probably, that's a good one.
You know, thinking of the comment about entrepreneurship, it kind of, it's a strategy both on the workforce and on the diversification.
Yes.
So I certainly agree with you that entrepreneurship and innovation need to be central, they need to be at the center of what we're doing.
Okay.
But I don't know how to put it in here.
Don't put the word innovation in.
We can put
It covers-
entrepreneurship and
covers a lot, I
innovation,
think.
both of those words within this overall goal. I can put entrepreneurship under workforce and talent, and I'll put innovation under economic diversification to drive innovation
Yeah.
with an emphasis on good paying jobs.
I think there's so much focus on, you know, like kids these days, you gotta get a job, you gotta get a job, you gotta get
Yeah.
a job. Nobody focuses on, you should also look at using your creativity to create the jobs that other people may work at, which I think this is a whole topic we just talked about. So innovation, entrepreneurship is really key in order to long-term growth.
Yes,
Yeah, I like that.
it is. It absolutely is. Anything? Yes, Marie.
I just have something small, and it's just a question. You have, I think we're missing the word "to."
Yeah, so-
Address factors contributing to regional livability.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I don't know. But also, I was wondering if another slide you're going to drill into these a little bit so we can see.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, I drill into each one. And Dennery, to your point, I had economic or entrepreneurial activities, and I did take it out because the slide was getting crowded.
Well, we can live with a crowded slide. Could you go back for just a second?
Yes.
Thinking about the livability thing, I mean, and again, I'm sorry, this is kind of thinking out loud.
No, that's what we want. This is exactly what
I'm thinking about is the thought of contributing to regional livability, workforce attractiveness, and company attraction. Something like that.
Okay. Any further thoughts?
And moving right along.
Okay, so economic diversification. So this would be the underpinning of our underpins in a regional economy and also those good paying jobs, those high quality jobs. So I'm going to focus on these clusters with ceramics and glass and chemicals with a pharmaceuticals emphasis, prepare for a downturn in primary metal overall as a cluster. Identify and then look at how we can identify key and regional stakeholders in each cluster so that they can form some kind of committee that drives forward in each of these. And then strategize around evaluating supply chain opportunities for growth within each industry cluster, support small businesses, entrepreneurs, and the construction industry, because we had a call last week where we talked about if you want growth, you need people to build the buildings and the roads and put all of that together, and that is an industry that supports all of that. And then also focus on connections with the Heartland Bioworks, which goes up to pharmaceuticals emphasis, and the Chicago Quantum Exchange growth efforts to kind of plant some seeds here.
Is there a name for the semiconductor corridor between West Lafayette and Indianapolis?
Is there a what?
A name for it?
I think they call it the Heart corridor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that
we
should
can
be.
put that in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an adjacent
Yes, it is.
sphere,
Yeah. Good idea. Yes.
Andy, at the last meeting, when we talked about the aspirational clusters, we had more than just quanta. So do we want to list those other ones of fintech, energy, biotech, and decarbonization?
Well, we don't have any data on any of those. That's one problem. And then it could spread out. There's two things. Quantum kind of feeds into all of those areas. And then if you have those as well, you can really kind of lose focus on all of that. Generally, we only recommend 3 clusters to focus on. I could put all of that language in there.
Can you refresh my memory on what machinery is?
Machinery manufacturing.
Yeah, machinery.
It was machinery manufacturing.
So making machines.
Yeah.
And components. Machines. That was a star cluster.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't excuse me, remember what companies make up that.
Yeah, I struggle with trying to
Like
think of
Ursul's one. I believe that would fit in that current category.
Pardon me?
Ursul maybe one to fit in that current category.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, with their cutting equipment, I suppose. Yeah, okay. I mean,
Well, maybe if quantum becomes kind of the larger title of those aspiring clusters.
Quantum and future.
Maybe
Driving.
we need to explain why that's the thread.
I sort of define
40%. But it's really for those organizations and communities that are also seeking EDA money. So there's kind of a fine line. We want the goals to be broad enough that most things that we see of value to advance the region can fit within those goal umbrellas. In terms of the action plan, which some of this is leading into, we do want to be a little more specific. What we probably don't want to do, and what the EDA has advised that we move away from, is a list of very specific projects, like rebuild this sewer line in this industrial park, that kind of stuff. So it is definitely kind of a tightrope in terms of you need the goals broad enough that most everything will fit within. But you, in terms of what you're stating you intend to do over the next 5 years, it has to have a little bit more meat on it so it's specific to what needs to be done here. And in terms of it being used, you know, SEDS compliance is one of those check marks in the EDA evaluating the grant requests. They're not going to fund things that the region as a whole says are not part of their comprehensive economic development strategy. So it's as much a help to NERC if we pursue grants on behalf of a regional effort, but it's also of assistance to, you know, organizations that might pursue workforce development or communities that might pursue a public infrastructure project in order to allow for business expansion. So it's a lot of different levels at once.
recognizing the advantage of using currently hot buzzwords and looking at quantum and wondering if advanced computing might be a reasonable substitute, because I'm thinking specifically, like there are a lot of activities in the area working on cybersecurity and stuff like that, which may or may not relate directly to quantum, but everything would fit into the title advanced computing.
Yes, and then it connects to the semiconductor.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Advanced technology?
No, I think we ought to. Technology is too broad, it becomes meaningless. At least computing is enough of a subset of technology that you know what you're talking about.
Would that also be including, say, like a data center?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Which may or may not be quantum related.
Right.
Then, on a side note, we'd like to welcome Andy Vasquez and Diana Dilbers, who joined our meeting. And speaking of that, have you any, is there anything you can share on that particular note?
On the data center?
Yes.
I will share what I'm at liberty to share at this point in time. We're still in the working stages of a huge data center, talking about billions with a B, in Union Township, where our illustrious leader, Township Trustee George Stoppel, will be coming with a meeting with me very soon, as a matter of fact, next week. And it's a data center. Exactly what type of data we will discuss. We are also going to see how long it takes, what type of money they're looking for, what they're bringing to the community, as well as what their open community will help them out. The county council is being brought into this as well, and we had a reorganization last night, and I am presently the president of the county council at this time as well. And I'd like to see this data center going, but we need a lot more information and anything that different helpful areas that we can get, as well as seeing what they can provide, would be a great deal. So that's pretty much it. It's still up in the air right now. We've got a couple of meetings we're going to go to. But you have 2 people on this board here right now that will be involved in that, and we'll give you every bit of information. When we get it, then we can tell you about it.
Where is the location of the data center?
Union Center, Union Township.
Union Township.
Union Township.
The specific
That's
location is.
And the specific location is of the area just south of 130, in between 130 and West 30, around 500, George?
Near where the Willow Creek.
Willow Creek.
Yeah, in that general area.
For phase 2.
The Willow Creek will go right through it, as a matter
Yeah,
of fact.
phase 3 actually. Yeah.
So Willow Creek has now become very important.
That includes an additional power supply also.
An additional power supply, from what I'm understanding, NIPSCO will be able to handle the power supply that's going to be required. How they're going to do that is one of those things I'm not privy to at this time, but they said they would, according to the representatives.
Okay. Well, getting back on the track, thank you for that
Yes, sir.
information. I think it ties in very nicely with something going on currently with this plan.
Okay, workforce and talent. So convene and collaborate within each cluster pertaining to potential reskilling opportunities from primary metal to work with it, and then also seek opportunities from primary, if there are needs to reskill, that the employees within that cluster could move into existing STAR cluster, whether there's any overlap in skills or if they could be reskilled. So we'll be looking at that potential. Focus on sectoral partnerships convened by the region. So these would be formed by critical mass of employers from the same industry who join with strategic partners to train and place workers in good, high quality jobs.
Why would we limit the reskilling into existing STAR clusters and not include emerging?
You can. That's a good point.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a few thoughts. One is, and you changed slides before I say it, but the hydrogen hub was not mentioned in the previous slide.
That's true.
You might want to mention, and that goes into the energy area of energy that we might want to be including in this to generate.
Absolutely.
She mentioned that. I think it's important to consider these emerging clusters because from a university perspective, we are educating that talent that's going to be growing these sectors. So as we think about, on this slide, we're talking about employers, but we also need to talk about the universities and the alignment of this training for talent.
That's true.
Especially when it comes to emerging industries that we really need to be supporting now to create the curriculum to be able to help upskill, but also to create that knowledge base.
Should we actually look into secondary education too for planting the seeds?
Yep, absolutely. And that's all that, we think about federal grants or state grants. We should be considering universities' role in getting those, being part of the teams, the collaborative teams, to go after those, because if we're all aligned as a region, then the universities can help support them. And that's going to be part of that talent attraction that Gary was talking about, the quality of place, how you bring them here. They're looking for universities that are building that workforce.
I agree, but there is a downside to including energy as well as one of the clusters within that, because again, as an organization, having another industry sector to kind of keep track of, in addition to machinery, primary metal, advanced computing, and chemicals and glass and ceramics, is just another thing to that list.
I understand that. I'm just going to explain my stance on it.
Yes.
We have a solar furnace at the university, for example. We are doing work in creating hydrogen. So we think that is already what's happening here. We have NIPSCO here. We have this hydrogen hub here, right? So I'm curious as to why machinery, for example, when we have a few companies that, yes, we want to help them grow, why that is a cluster we want to be putting on our SEDS versus something like energy, where we have a lot of support. We have NIPSCO here. We have wind turbines here. We have changes that's going to happen in Michigan City around the NIPSCO plant there. Why we don't want to consider that?
I'd like to support that because the power grid can't sustain what we're trying to do right now. So
Yeah,
I think
that
it's
is a
critical.
big issue.
Yeah.
And all the quantum technology stuff is a moot point if we don't have that advancement.
So I guess, I'm coming back to the committee or the working group here, what do you want to do in terms of
I think energy
including
is
that
a
cluster,
critical
because we already
sector.
voted on the clusters at the last meeting based on the data.
One of the things with that data center is that right now, NIPSCO does not have the capacity, it just does not, to support this. So with the hydrogen idea, I think that's a way to look toward the future. Instead of trying to catch up, let's be proactive in regards to what we need for our energy.
And small nuclear reactors too.
Yeah.
But also, those aren't those aren't operating yet. So that is also something to keep.
No, but this is a planning commission, so.
That's the plan, is the next set update from NERC's standpoint. How long is this plan in effect until there's another?
This
set
is a
update?
5-year plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
excuse my naivety, I wasn't.
And you have one person here, me, that's
Yeah, me,
charged
myself,
with
and I.
advancing those action plans,
Yeah.
unless they're assigned to a partner organization. Energy may be something that when we evaluate the action plan items, we feel that might be better assigned to a different partner organization that's maybe more involved in that sector already. So I guess I feel, especially with the hydrogen hub efforts, I think it's important to include. That doesn't necessarily mean that NERC alone has to drive that bus. That's, again, part of figuring out what can we actually accomplish and move the needle on in 5 years.
If I
You
understand
have
hydrogen,
In the back room,
Yes, Matt?
I think you're trying to be identified there. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was late, everybody. So one thing that I think we need to bear in mind is that since this is a 5-year plan, the political realities for the next 4 years at the federal and state level have cast the entire DOE Hydrogen Hubs program into considerable uncertainty. And, without, I won't go into too many details, but it's not something that I think probably makes a lot of sense to put a big flashy bet on, at least for this time interval. I think it's still inevitable. I think, BP and other Constellation, other, private partners in that endeavor are moving forward regardless of what happens with the federal funding. But there's some challenges that I think we're gonna deal with for at least the next 4 years.
Sir, if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Matt Wells. I'm with Purdue Northwest and One Region.
Okay, thank you.
Matt, I think that's a great point. BP's already laid out a 10-year target anyway from the jump without uncertainty. So then, add in the complications this week and much more. So, and I guess that begs the question on SMRs, the technology may not be there to a degree, but on the federal and state level, there are bills both being heard around permitting partnerships and funding as well as incentivizing. So while that's not a done deal in the next 2 to 3, I think we'll make some massive strides to get those to a point where they can come to fruition. So,
Even with the
think that how you
federal,
want it.
even with the federal level, there's some concerns, could we have a plan B or backup just in case? I mean, rather than, this is what I talk about being proactive, instead of scrambling at the last second saying, oh, this was an idea we had in the back burner, can we not make a plan B?
That's why everything's also very broad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just thinking about energy for a minute, if I understand correctly, the hydrogen hub is itself not specifically related to energy. It's more connected to decarbonization efforts than it is to energy generation. But focusing on energy generation for a second, and this might be something that is more appropriate to think about for the plan, is, as we know, there's a lot of agricultural land has been converted to solar farms.
Yes.
And that can be quantified, and the people employed in that industry can be identified. And so, as part of our regional planning, do we want to encourage or discourage the construction of additional solar panels and wind farms?
I don't know.
Well, I don't either. I'm just asking. It seems like it's a legitimate line of inquiry for a 5-year plan.
Mr. Vasquez.
We had one that's trying to go down in South County, Fort County. And the people who brought it down there trying to establish this thing, they were lucky to get out of town.
Oh, okay, but
because the farmers down there, they just don't want it.
I understand, but that kind of begs the question as to what does the Regional Planning Commission want to do? Does it want to encourage trying to overcome those objections? Or does it want to say that we are not going to pursue additional renewable energy because of these objections?
But renewable energy encompasses more than just solar.
Okay, then let's talk about solar and wind. Okay. Yeah.
We are supporting the wind farms and the solar industry in the 2050 plus plan.
Yeah.
So we're focusing on that. We're focusing on energy. So as NERC, we are supporting that.
So should there be something in the 5-year plan that supports your 50-year plan?
It's actually, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
25 years.
that's the question.
Yeah, we are supporting that.
So that gets back to including energy, but with a different spin on it than focusing on the hydrogen hub.
Yeah, and of course, we update that plan based on things that change over a period of time. About every 5 years, we have the.
In the LaPorte County area, the solar issue, the photovoltaic solar issue has been brought up, and the direction is to inhibit the further expansion of photovoltaic panels in the county. So if that's the direction NERC wants to go, there's a hurdle to be used there to overcome.
NIMBY hurdles are frequently there on kind of long-term planning efforts there.
Here's what I would ask too, is this something that you want in the SEDS document?
I don't know.
And from a 5-year strategic attempt to augment our ability to capture investment, I think that's would not be a positive step given the administration.
That's what I'm concerned about,
For
because
4 of those
it
5
will be
years.
reviewed by the administration.
For those 5 years, there won't be a focus on.
I guess I'm more in the confrontation mode with the
I mean, we
administration.
could put it in there and see.
But he did not say he was gonna stop it, he just said he wasn't gonna invest in it much. So it could be in there, but it's just, you still have emphasis on other things as well.
We could do that.
And we just got alerted, the NSF is holding on.
That's
grants.
right.
This is impacting many different clusters that we don't really know what's going to happen in the end. But there's impact across the board right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think as far as the region goes, what is the direction that you all want to go for the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be called renewable energy. It could just be called energy. That might not trigger any kind of issues right now with the administration, but
it's a tightrope. As I write this, it really is going to be a tightrope, and I have 2 weeks from today,
Energy flows.
essentially, to finish this.
I like that, Marie, I think that's
We could
great.
just call it energy.
Yeah, I think that's great, suggesting good spot to be in for this.
Yeah. It seems that
Broader
energy
brush.
is emerging as something important in our plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Time-wise,
We have one more slide.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, good.
I think we're good.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I was just trying to figure out what the time frame is for everyone.
Yes.
Don't we have to?
So are you adding
Yeah, we do.
education, huh?
Am I what?
Adding the education, the higher education and universities with the workforce? Are you adding that?
I will add that component and how that can be leveraged.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one more thing, like maybe we also should look at the vocational, like high school and technical high school, because to get ready and train them with the current industry that we have in the region or the future industry.
I agree. I just think that would be a hard step for Dennery actually to implement herself.
And also the EDA doesn't look at anything K through 12.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But she could talk about, these are the trends that we're seeing in the region and keep that information open and convey it to higher education, to educational institutions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it would be good to share that with the workforce development. Like all of these recommendations.
Yes.
So any future training or recommendations, it will come from them, but like we don't have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, CWI is definitely an integral part of advancing any of the workforce action plans. We do not operate a workforce development agency here at NERC, nor do we aspire to do so.
Yeah. But having a workforce component to
Yeah,
the set
it's
is
good,
very important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, so quality of place, creating a livable region for workforce and residents. So I have these.
I can't let this opportunity go by without mentioning heritage assets as an important component in creating quality of place.
Okay, heritage assets. Yep.
We have in the region
You do.
a lot of them, but also a profound lack of knowledge and appreciation
That is correct.
about the uniqueness of the region.
Yes. Yeah, just last year I went to a party at the Aquatorium,
Yeah,
and that was a really neat place to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
I live just down the street.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that's an important component in quality of place.
It is. I will add that in here.
Thank you.
Spencer, can I put you slightly on the spot to address that third bullet? And whether we think this really needs to be part of the SEDS, given the forum's initiatives on this right now?
I think that this is a incredibly critical component. So the redundancy doesn't necessarily hurt us, in my opinion, and the focus on it is definitely needed. We're in energy and people are our two biggest problems right now. So allowing those individuals to get back to the workforce that are staying home, that it's not economical to pay for childcare, is a incredible challenge for our country. So
Yeah,
I don't
increasing.
think that it's a bad thing to make the focal point twice on this, multiple times throughout our region. But again, I'm open to anything. So
Spencer, would you include early childhood education as part of that? Because that kind of goes hand in hand with child care in some cases.
I'd argue that is if I were to put them in a list, 1 and 2, right? If you were to, I mean, early childhood education is an incredible shortcoming on every level. And so not only is, you know, they tie very, very deeply together.
Right.
So great, good point. But yeah, I think if we can augment and add in the early childhood component, you know, I mean, they're like, not to get too deep in this, but kids are very fragile and they pick up everything right away. And so if we don't support that, then we're setting our, you know, the next 100 years up for failure because we haven't done our job of being parents, neighbors, and taking care of them.
Right.
And so that's my, you know, I think that's our approach.
I'm just speaking on a practical matter.
Yeah.
If I have to steer that bus, it's not gonna get steered, okay? I'm not saying
Yeah.
it shouldn't be mentioned in there, but realistically, a lot of the child care aspects under the prior administration were integral to their,
Sure.
some of their larger grant programs. I don't know if that will still hold true, those wraparound service type of elements, which would have been kind of the value in having that in there. But I think the word support is key.
I like it. I think that doesn't, you know, that doesn't tie you, but what are the, like, so as we look at actionable items through this plan, what do they look like for the support? Does that make sense?
One of the
Like, is it like, okay, well, NERC is gonna open 10 childcare facilities in the next
Yeah.
year? That's not gonna help. That
Yeah.
puts us all in a bad spot. Where is it more so like, you know, let's drive connectivity through first things first, and you know, all the things.
Or like what I'm currently doing, as I come across child care resources, early education resources, I distributed that information to the stakeholders that are in that space in anticipation that there might be some, you know, best practices or examples that would be of value to them. Now, that's certainly something I can continue to do. You know, there's a possibility, if there's a very specific initiative that perhaps has a transportation aspect associated with it, that NERC would be more involved. So I'm just trying, again, at the end of the day, I have to take this SEDS and I have to arrange the next 5 years. What is it that I can realistically accomplish? And more importantly, what can I report back to the EDA has been realistically accomplished?
I think also,
Well, she just answered the question, but I was gonna say, should we put affordable childcare? I think she said additional, but I think affordable is the key.
Okay. I think when I added this, there are 2 reasons. One, it came up within our SWOT analysis. And 2, we know that labor participation rates are a key component of economic resilience.
Exactly.
And you want that workforce. You want people able to work and not participate and not unable to participate because there isn't affordable childcare.
That's the key.
I think also from the perspective of NERC, what can we do is, you know, like to identify like a certain location with major employers, like hospitals with, you know, like 3,000, 4,000 employee, or UST, all the major, or employment hub, you know, like an area has, you know, like a good number of jobs. So that's, I think that's what we can do, identify like certain area, you know, like, and I think like we can somehow get the ages of people and, you know, like people having children or not, but that's what can we do, you know, like.
Yes.
From the data perspective, we can identify, you know, like a hot location that needs, this is a good area to have additional childcare.
And also you can pull your industry clusters. If you have those groups that you form as a result of the SEDS, you can find out what their childcare needs are. In terms of employment and, you know, recruiting workforce and attracting workforce.
A
revisit.
couple of quick points on this. It seems to me that, that we may, one of the other purposes of this document beyond securing government funding is the possibility of using it to encourage private investment, which would fit in with exactly what you're saying. I mean, there are companies that are interested in creating child care opportunities for their employees. And if we have a statement of principle about that in our plan and show prospective employers that there is a way, and then maybe support them with resources of how you could work together to create a child care center. I think it's really worth including something like this as a way to maybe stimulate private investment too. And if a company's looking to come here, hopefully the strategic plan will be something they might look at, and the statement that we value that and are trying to support it, I think could be a good statement to have.
My apologies, I should have backed into what, why you asked me that question and what the forum's doing, because I don't think that we've done a good enough job telling the story about this component. Everyone looks at us on an economic development level, and not necessarily when you think of childcare, we're not the first organization that comes up.
Yeah.
So we are, Jennifer in our office and Heather are working very intimately with TPMA to craft an early childhood education and child care strategy for our region. So we've received a grant to support this, and it's looking and working with organizations, company Cleveland Cliffs, companies such as that are large enough to support not only financially but have the capital, the human capital that we utilize in services. Because we can open a facility tomorrow, but if it's not affordable and people don't use it, it's a moot point. It's a loss leader. So that's sort of the work with TPMA and
what's
the focus
TPMA?
Thomas P. Miller?
Thank you, and Associates.
They're
It's a consulting firm out of Indianapolis.
Okay.
So yeah, that's sort of the playing field that we're on now to move this forward in conjunction with First Things First. And so some of the things that we had just previously talked about where NERC fills in, I think it's the continuation of what comes out of that. So maybe we're going to find answers like, okay, well, there's Fort Wayne's operating a model, and again, we're getting deep into this, so I apologize, but where it's a tri-share model, so the community pays a third, the individual pays a third, and the company pays a third, and so it offers some affordable childcare in a responsible manner. And so, I think that if we come up with a number that's similar to that, and there's buy-in and things like that, the continuation and the involvement of NERC would be to maybe push that, get the right people in the room, make sure that we're moving forward, and then exactly what you're talking about and doing to just drive that forward. I don't think it's an advantage to leave it out, because I think that we're focused on the most critical things of our region. I think that is one.
I serve on that committee, the child care.
Yeah, you can probably speak better than I. I'm sorry.
No, you did a great job, actually. And so that regional study is in development right now. And for it to be included in the SEDS, it would allow for us to focus on it for future funding and other things. And maybe we think about where it's like to the growth of high quality affordable childcare to support labor participation and early childhood education. Like, I think it's more comprehensive, but I like the affordable. I think it should be high quality as well. But the study's being completed, and some case studies are being done, but also with, like you had said, the Fort Wayne area, we're modeling it after that. So,
if I could, I'd like to refocus on focus of revitalization of downtowns in the region. I think we need to go another step beyond that. All the unincorporated areas are starting to experience significant growth and significant issues. I think there needs to be a focus on planning for those unincorporated areas, with those cities and towns that need to have a plan. And I think as a planning commission, it should be certainly something that we focus on, and perhaps a bullet point up there as well. Say again.
Or a comprehensive plan?
Well, I don't, I think we can, yeah, land use obviously, but I think that could be included here too.
Okay.
Henry? I know it's more stuff.
I'm not sure right now, because I'm trying to put on my SEDS compliance EDA hat, thinking.
And we don't understand it as well as you.
Well, I'm just trying to understand where it fits within EDA programs. I'm not saying it's not a worthy objective for creating a quality of place environment. And so I'll simply say this: I'm always amazed in my history of seeking grants through other agencies, how often they ask for assurance that it's in keeping with the regional plan or a local plan or what have you. So with that said, sometimes it's good to have these additional things, even though the parent agency has no interest in ever funding them. The EDA may never fund a historic resource rehab. They may never fund a comprehensive land use plan. So what?
Yeah.
But some other funding entity that we haven't even identified they may say, show me where it is in a regional plan, and then
And
they'll
there
be
it
in
is.
there and you can check that box.
Yes.
So that said, I think there's probably some future benefit, not to the EDA per se, but some future benefit to have some of these additional quality of place goals included, so that if need be, the SEDS can be used to check that agency's box.
So, right, go ahead.
Yeah, I would second everything that Henry just said. I don't know if you've seen the news the last 2 weeks, but we actually brought on Alejandro Castillo, the former Assistant Secretary of Commerce of the United States and head of the EDA until this past August as a fellow at the university. And she's echoed, we've been learning a lot just in these first couple of weeks that she's been with us, but that was something that she's been stressing is you need to make sure that what's reflected in the plan is it encompasses anything you might want to apply for funding for.
Yes.
Even if it isn't something that NERC is going to own, it at least is reflected in the scope of where the plan is going. So,
Yeah, that is correct.
So that said, I have no objection to either of those additions, but realistically, I don't think you're ever gonna
But I think we
get
need
a
to
dollar
put it on
out
the
of the
table.
EDA to do anything related to that.
Right. I
But
think
you
we
might
need to
get
put it
from
on the
other
table and get it to the
agencies.
thinking point.
Yeah.
Because it's a definite need.
and that's the other thing that Alejandro has mentioned is the need of a SEDS to be forward-looking, to not be just looking at historical data points, but to really have a compelling, kind of logical and cohesive vision that
Where
is
are we
something
going and
funders
how
can
did we
actually
get
decide
there?
about. But it shouldn't just be an exercise in box checking, but something that casts a very kind of data-informed, forward-looking vision that makes sense given the assets that a region has. So, I guess she's her encouragement is to paint with a broad enough brush and to have enough vision to think a little bit more broadly.
On that note, are these areas rural?
Yes.
Because rural is kind of a highlighted area that the EDA and others have been looking at. Perhaps incorporating that might make it match more with the areas of focus.
Well, I think good land use planning and supporting sustainable development can be spread rural and urban, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what we do. But the other thing is we had publications called Communities Livable Centers. So in this one, we identified not just downtown, we identified also neighborhood centers. So major neighborhoods within the community or within the county, and that's based on the number of population and jobs, and it's not a downtown, but it's a major center. So maybe we can add that with revitalization of downtowns and major neighborhood centers?
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, so I
You know, I
think.
wonder if revitalization should be revitalization and creation, because there are some towns in the community, Munster, for example, that is really struggling with how to deal with creating a central
downtown.
business core.
Yeah, we don't have enough.
Orange is dealing.
Cornish is even a better example. But it seems that we ought to have creation in there as well.
Yeah.
And maybe instead of downtowns, of livable centers or something like that, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
think about the language.
Can I move to this, oh, was there some other comment? Can I move to the second point?
Sure.
Yes.
I think, I always struggle with the word affordable housing because it's, so many people have such a negative connotation
They
with
do.
that.
And what
I've
affordable
tried to
is.
change the narrative a little bit in any conversations I've had and just flip the words around and talk about housing affordability.
Okay.
Because housing affordability crosses all income levels.
Yes, it does.
And I think with what, the study that Iman presented more than once at this point speaks to not only the housing, well, basically it speaks to the housing affordability topic that I think also needs to be added in here, that it would be promote affordable housing for
All income.
whoever it is,
All incomes, yeah.
all income levels.
Housing
But
affordability,
also,
as you
basic,
stated.
kind of tie into the study that was in the 2050 plan that you presented, because it's already there, that would be promoting techniques or concepts, because the whole, NERC is built on, basically all elected officials, and all the elected officials should be supporting all of the concepts that Iman presented there with respect to density, housing design, because there's a lot of things that we're missing in our region, and I think that needs to be in that second bullet point somehow.
Okay.
You could say support housing affordability. That
I think that would work based on the comments.
Yeah, because I think housing affordability crosses, all kinds of, basically looking at, zero lot line developments to make higher density developments so that people with limited means can afford those homes versus just let's all build the big, mansions, as
1
they
acre,
always said,
yeah.
which we,
2 acres.
there's a need for that too. But I think, if we can kind of rearrange that a little bit and add some of what she had in her presentation, I think it would be ideal.
I just want to echo, you mentioned something that says all income levels. So I think if you do use that context of housing affordability, because it almost dips in workforce. It almost means, well, then you need to make more money to afford the prices of our housing. But if you add that housing affordability, all income levels, I think it brings us back to a place where the actual bricks and mortar becomes affordable. I would really encourage us to have that piece.
Because that's one of the biggest struggles we have. We, unlike California, where the people that you need to work in your community can't even live near your community, we can't find ourselves in that same struggle. And that's kind of what Valparaiso is trying to do with some of their downtown development, to bring more density downtown to help those that can afford those places to be able to work downtown.
I wonder if we should at least acknowledge in the language of the first one, and possibly the second one, the importance of the transit development districts.
Oh, great.
Well,
Definitely,
great,
yes.
yeah, very good.
Point. And I know you said affordability, but I think also quality and safe should be in there.
Quality and safe.
Because I know a lot of people have issues with loans and they can't afford to move somewhere else because, but
Yes.
main focus on quality.
Okay. Well, this is what I have for you all today. I really do appreciate your comments. This has been very helpful in helping me craft the document that I have ahead. I want to kind of turn it over to George, and I want to know whether these 3 overall goals you're comfortable with, we proceeding on?
Are we going to change some of the language based on the conversation?
Yes, we absolutely will.
Okay, and do we have another follow-up on this?
We
Is that what
don't,
we're doing
we
on the
don't.
14th?
Because, well, on the 14th, I'm actually presenting the draft document.
Mm-hmm.
So and that would just be a draft as well. So any comments people have, we will acknowledge and
Okay.
potentially incorporate after discussion.
I think we had an excellent discussion, a lot of great ideas came
Yeah.
out of here, and good discussion. Thank you very much for all your.
Are you going to send the draft before the meeting?
I don't have time.
Yeah.
I really,
It's tight, I know.
yeah, I don't
I
have
was
the time.
talking to Dinner about that, it's very tight.
Extremely tight.
When
I
is
would
the
if I
due-
could.
When is the due date
For the
for the approvals and
it has to be.
February meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so the 14th would be the last time that we'll
George,
discuss it.
could I suggest that maybe, and Annie, let me know what the timing is. Do you think the work that you presented today with the edits and the input might be something that I could distribute via email sometime mid next week?
I will have to rely on Haiwan's notes for that. But I think so, yes.
So even though we won't meet again until the draft is presented, we could distribute kind of this interim work product that reflects today's discussion.
I don't know about an interim work product, but we can show that we've heard these points and we will incorporate. I
We
won't have.
could at least have the bullet points that are to
Yes.
be incorporated.
Yes,
Yes.
I can't write it fast enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you can send and when you can send it, I can distribute it to
Okay.
the committee. Again, it may be just, 3 slides. I don't know.
Okay, so we need to, I guess we need approval of the goals for the final,
Yes.
and this is an approval to
Of
go
the
ahead with what we
economic
discussed here today.
diversification, quality in place, workforce and talent. Those just very general goals.
Okay, so is there a motion to, request a motion to approve the set goals as stated and with the corrections that will be forthcoming on 14th? May I have a motion? Okay, Dana? Second. Don? Or
Okay, put in a
Amy?
motion, put in a motion to approve the, updated says.
Okay, I think we had one thing.
Okay.
And is there any further discussion on it, Lois? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye, the voting members.
Aye.
Any opposition? There being none, motion passes. So we approved the preparation for the draft that we'll
Yes.
see on the 14th.
Thank you, everyone.
Is it the
Yes.
14th or is that Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Friday the 14th, is that correct? Okay. All right, is there any other points that you'd like to bring up or any general discussion before we go for adjournment? First chance, second chance, third chance, meeting adjourned. Thank you all, appreciate it very much. And thank you, Andy. Well, the next meeting is Economy in Place is February 14th at 10 o'clock. Right here.